and I'm opening this project, which is where I keep all of my reel content for UMD-KIO. I'm going to try to be as specific about each of my steps as humanly possible. So the first thing I did is to be honest though, I did do this a while ago. I did this when my Wrapped came out. I don't know if it's still available to view, but if you can go, I would go screen record your own Wrapped. I did screen record my personal Spotify Wrapped when it came out, because I just like to have it, because I love Spotify Wrapped. And I use that as a template for my template. So everything is a step. All the layers are a step. So the first step I did is you go into, what you did is you went to File, New Sequence. It took you to this page. Don't care. You go to Settings, Editing Mode. We're going to go to Custom. Beautiful. We're going to go to 1080 over on the horizontal plane, and we're going to go to 1920 over here on vertical. We're like 1522. What the fuck does that mean? Square pixels it, 916. Hit OK. Your new sequence right here is going to be the perfect, I'm using my finger, no one can see me. New sequence right here is going to be the perfect aspect ratio for a video for socials, whether that be TikTok, an Instagram reel, whatever. So what you're gonna do now is you're gonna go to File, and you're gonna go to Import, which also, if you have a Mac, the shortcut for that is gonna be Command-I. So regardless of if you have Command-I or Import, you're gonna want this screen to pop up. And you're gonna probably wanna go to your downloads, because that is probably where your screen recording of your Spotify Wrapped is gonna land. So for me, I screen recorded it on my phone. I airdropped it to my computer. You can do whatever you want, email it to yourself, however you can get it to your computer. Get it there. It's probably gonna land in your downloads page. So for me, it's right here. You're gonna wanna hit Import, right? That's what it's called. Now, if you want to be extra organized, if you want to be extra organized, you can just do a single click on the title there and changed it to Wrapped screen recording. Great. So this is my Wrapped, and then we're going to take, so here's my Wrapped screen recording. I am going to, now here's what you, so the comma puts you, that'll just import it right wherever you toggle your A1, so that's your audio 1, and your V1, which would be your video 1. So if I move that down there, now it's here. That just puts you wherever the head, I forget what it's called, it's the head or whatever, it's going to throw you in there. Now I could import that, right? Now let's say the head is here. If I hit the comma again, it just automatically pushes everything around and moves you in. Now I could also hit the period button. Let me just hit the undo button for that. Could hit the period button when I do it, and instead of pushing, it overwrites, right? But that's going to use your audio and your video. That might have been a little too many buzzwords for everybody here. So that's going to be your audio and your video, and you don't want that. You just want the video, because you're not even worried about the audio right now. So we are going to drag from this thing. It's, if you hover over the little like cinema button or whatever, it says drag video only. We are going to drag that onto our timeline, and you're going to see that this pops up, because you see the aspect ratio here, different than the aspect ratio here. But we are going to keep the existing settings, because we need that nice 9:16 for socials. And you're going to see that I dragged it over, and it automatically put it at this random spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all this dead space, and we're just going to hit delete. So now your video is starting at 0000. Another thing we're going to see. We're going to see if we look at this, there's a lot of black around it. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click on the video itself, and we are just going to expand out with our index and our middle finger. Yep, that's a middle finger. You're just going to expand it out right there. Pretty intuitive there. You're just going to expand it out to, you could also use the little nubbins right here. I don't like to use them. Just expand it out so that there's this little black on the top and bottom. That's fine. We're going to worry about that later. So now this is where it gets tedious. Yeah, this is when it gets tedious. The past 6 minutes where literally nothing has happened, that wasn't even the tedious part. So I'm just saying this, Isn't it? You are embarking on a journey, okay? But it's gonna be fine. Don't feel free to scrub through. If you've used Premiere before or really any editing software, you could be banging through this video. Throw me in 2 times speed and let's get this train moving. But if you haven't and you're sitting here learning, good for fucking you. Now I literally scrub through, which means I just drag the little clip here, or I use the arrow keys on my computer keypad, and I literally am watching this like second frame by frame, and I see when, okay, so you see here green, here 2022 on 2021 showed up. So now what you're gonna do, if you have a Mac, you hit Command-Shift-4. If you don't have a Mac, you're gonna head to google.com and Google, how do I screenshot on my computer? But now that you are Command-Shift-4ing, you are taking a screenshot of all that dead space, and then remember, Command-I, nice import moment. You're gonna bring that into the project. You're gonna see I already have it from last time I did this, and I am going to then drag video only, even though there's no audio connected to that, and I'm gonna put it above, right? So I'm gonna leave this where it is, and I'm gonna use this second video channel to put this above. Now here's the trick. You have this selected, you have your green little box selected, and you see where it says here, whatever it says, you're gonna go to Effect Controls, Opacity, I don't know how normal people pronounce that, that's how I pronounce it, and you're gonna drag it down to maybe 60. And you're also gonna make sure scale is size. So you could either like go and drag it. Do you see how scale, if you pay attention right here, the scale is gonna change when you're, using your index and middle finger to make the picture bigger or smaller. And you're also going to notice the rotation shifted while I did that, because it's not an exact science. And so I always like to bring that back to 0. So it's just straight. So anyway, you're going to make sure that this is to size. Now, granted, your screenshot might be bigger than my screenshot, in which case you don't have to adjust scale. I personally do have to adjust scale. So that's just what it is. Now, so now that that's on top of there, I scrub through. And I can see, since we changed the opacity, which means if I put the opacity at 0, it's like it's not even there. But I put it at 100, it covers it completely. The opacity just means how much of the picture is, whatever. You get it, or you don't get it. Either way, put it at something lower than 100. So you can see right here that the opacity is showing us that if the opacity was at 100, my thing would be blocking. So we're gonna make this a little smaller and hope that covers all the words. And it does, which is great. So now we just keep scrubbing through. And this is where we're gonna get to the tricky part, which is pretty exciting stuff. Keep scrubbing. Okay, here we go. Here's where we get tricky. So right now you can see here, we're in the editing plane, because all we're doing is working with what we have. But we're about to go crazy, and we're about to go into the effects plane, because we need to crop this, but we need to key it. And I will explain what those words mean. So you could go into Video Effects, Transform, and find crop, or nice search there, crop. You're gonna drag crop and place it on top of your green one, not the screen recording, the green one. And once again, if you were feeling very organized, you could have renamed screenshot something like green box or whatever, but I wasn't feeling it. So now you can see when we're viewing the green one, we're back in whatever this is. We're gonna move it. We're gonna go back into Effect Controls. So either you can do that by scrolling through this top here, or hitting this arrow and heading to Effect Controls. Right. Okay. So now, as we're scrubbing through here, we see this purple coming up, and you can see where my green box is, and you can see what's behind my green box because of our trusty opacity tool here. So now we're gonna go back to scrubbing through, but we are going to crop the video as we go. Now, there's 2 ways you could do this. You could either key it, which means that here, for example, I'll show you. I hit the bottom button, right? So that means at 9:01, this is what the cropping is. The cropping is 0% on the bottom. But if I move it over to 10:10 and change it to 100% cropping from the bottom, you can see here it's animated, it moves, but it's not an exact science, and personally, I just don't like it as much, so we're just gonna take that off. There's two ways to do that. You can either undo everything you just did, or you can click this button again, and it'll say it's deleting the keyframes, and that's why I said keying before, because you're, whatever. It'll say you're deleting the keyframes, and you say, okay, that's fine. So the way that I do it personally, you can do whatever you want, is for things like this, not always, but for things like this, I like to cut and do each step at a time. So right now, we're good. Right now, the green is not touching the purple, so it's fine, but it will be touching the purple soon. So what we're gonna do is you can either hit the C letter on your keyboard, or you can head over to these tools here and click this. And if you hover over each of them, it'll tell you what the shortcut is. That little letter in the parentheses is the shortcut. So C is the shortcut for the razor tool, and you're gonna wanna cut it right at the playhead there. And then when we toggle the playhead 1 over, we can see that the green and purple are starting to mix. So now we're gonna zoom in a lot on our timeline. You can either do that by hovering over the timeline and using your pointer and index to kind of expand, or this little thing down here controls the size of the timeline. Okay, so now we're working off of 2 clips. So you have the clip here. Be careful not to touch it, because once you touch it, it's gonna cut. Undo that, obviously. So, by the way, I love the undo button. It's my favorite thing. So if you're on a Mac, that's Command Z, or you can really go and edit undo every time. And if you're on a PC, I'm gonna take a wild guess that your shortcuts will also be listed right here, in case you don't know them off the top of your head. If you've ever hit undo on like a Microsoft Word document on a Mac, it's also Command Z. So on a PC, whatever that shortcut is, it's gonna be the same one. Anyway, so if you wanna fiddle around with this at all, you're gonna either wanna hit the V button on your keyboard, or head over and select this, which you can see the shortcut there when I hover over it is the V. So here's clip number 1, where we're safe from the purple. Here's clip number 2, where if we go 1 frame over, we're not safe. That is when we're gonna double click on this new clip. We're gonna head over back to Effect Controls, and we are gonna slowly either, the way that I like to use the crop tool, because I feel like this is the way that you can go very precise, is you have your mouse or your keypad, right? You're gonna select, you're gonna hold down on your mouse or your keypad, and you're gonna drag to the right here. You could do the same thing, which I will hit the undo button after I do this because I don't wanna mess this up, with the scale, where you hold down, drag to the right, or drag to the left to go one way or the other way. I'm now gonna hit the undo button. But on the crop tool, you can only go one way, right? Because you can't crop below 0%. Cropping only goes to the right. So you're gonna hold down, go to the right. Another thing you could do is you could select, and you can, manually put in, I want to crop by 2%. Okay, that didn't work, crop by 5%. Okay, that didn't work, crop by 7%. And I will say, I do like to go in and be precise. If, let's say, so I'm holding down on my keypad and I'm dragging over, right? And you can see here where you want to go, right where the purple and the green meet. That's where you want to get the crop tool. And that's where I do like to go in sometimes and do like 6.8 if I'm feeling very precise. If I'm feeling like I can't get it very precise via this, except I do think it is 7%, which another thing, if you get to a percentage point that you like and then you feel like you can never get it back, like, your finger slips or something, you can go back in and type 7.0, which I think that's where I like it. So now we're going to go over one frame. We're going to see that it doesn't hit the purple. Great. Go over another frame. Uh-oh. Trouble. So we're gonna hit C again. We're gonna go to our razor tool. We're gonna cut. We're gonna go back to V so that we can select without cutting. We're gonna select this one. Now you'll see you're in the effect controls of the new clip. This is the effect controls we were just working from. You can see now this is a new clip. And if you scroll over one, row, so same thing. We're gonna go from our bottom and we're gonna pull it up. I think 27 is the sweet spot. We are gonna, same thing, C, cut that, V, so we can touch things without them falling apart. And then we are gonna arrow over one. Oh my God, what will we do? We are gonna go to the effect controls. We are going to go to the crop tool for the new clip. We are going to pull it up and beautiful. We are gonna hit C, get out of here, V, over, row, same thing. Guys, we are on fire. Pull it up.
How's he pulling that?
Okay, perfect. C, crop, V, move it over. Oh my God, whatever will we do? You guys know what to do. Yup, there we go, 100%. That means when you hit the C tool, when we go over here, there's no more green to work with, because 100% crop from the bottom would mean the picture is gone. In that case, what you're gonna do is you're gonna hit delete, because we don't need all that extra green anymore. And don't forget that we had our opacity at 100, at 35, because we were trying to see what's behind the green. But we don't want to see what's behind the green, right? That's the whole point of the green. So we are going to take that and we are going to push it to 100, and we have to do that with each clip. We have to go through each clip and make sure that it is at 100% opacity, right? Perfect. Okay, great. All right, and last one. All right, and now if we watch this over, let's pull the playhead, let's scrub it down to the beginning of the sequence, and let's watch. You hit the space arrow to hit play, or you can hit it right here. And you see here, no words. And then as the purple rises, it should just rise with the purple. Yep, so, okay, here it is. This is where it gets fun. So, you saw it, I saw it, the words are still visible, but where did we run into a problem? So that is where, once again, we are gonna be scrubbing through this. So I use my keyboard, or you can individually move the arrow here with your mouse. I'm gonna use my keyboard arrows, and I'm literally going to go frame by frame in this sequence, which it looked like our problem, which once again, if you wanna adjust the timeline size, you can either do a little bit of this action or use your pointer and index finger and squeeze or contract the whatever. Pretty sure contract and squeeze are the same thing. So I think our issue was over here. So let's move the playhead over here. Now we're gonna scrub through frame by frame. Yep. So it looks like we cropped a little too close to the sun there. So you can see here, see how the green is a little bit different, and in a perfect world, it wouldn't be, but unfortunately, that is what it is. Yeah. So looks like I might have, potentially, everything is one frame off. That's what it looks like to me. So you have two options. You could either go one frame over. So you're gonna hold down on your mouse or keypad. You're gonna drag to select everything, and you are going to hold the first one and you're gonna move it over one frame. Or you can go through and individually adjust each frame. But I'm pretty sure, yeah. So everything was one frame off. That is my bad, guys.
Everybody makes mistakes.
But you know what? That's the beauty of the undo button, and everything moves. So anyway, now you can see as I scrub through, you never see the green and you never realize that there's this extra green right here. Right, okay. Now we run into this problem. Wait, pause, put it on pause. What about these words? Now, granted, I decided to use the same wording in my Aikaio Wrapped, but I did write it myself because I wasn't 100% sure and I wanted to give myself a blank slate. So you're gonna do the exact same thing. So first of all, let's go back to square one where we're screenshotting this purple right here, right? You're gonna do the exact same thing. Oh my God, wait. If you made multiple bins, you might run into this problem where you look over in your editing thing and you're like, hold up, this is not where I was editing from. If you didn't make multiple bins, you should never run into this problem. But up here is basically like all of your tabs within your editing plane. And so you can hit this arrow button to view all of your tabs, or you can scrub through with your cursor. But I like to hit the arrow, and I know that I'm working on the 8Kyo Wraps project, and now I'm back to where I need to be. So you have your purple screenshot, right? And let's see where the arrows, where the words become visible. They become visible where our green is. So how are we going to do green and purple at the same time? We are going to all of a sudden break into our third video plane so that we don't interrupt the green, we don't interrupt the original. Now we have purple. So double select there, we're on the purple. Now this is annoying because we can't see what's behind us. So what do? We go to effect controls and we go to the opacity. Sometimes it doesn't show up, and that's weird. You go to effect controls, there it is. So I am going to scrub with my mouse, like I told you guys before. And opacity is the opposite of cropping, because cropping, it's only to the right? Now opacity is the default, is always going to be at 100%. You're only going to go to the left because you can't be more than 100% on the screen. So anyway, I'm going to be at 31 just so I can see what's going on. So now I'm going to scrub to where the words finish. And I can see the light outline here that the words are going to finish there, and my square is going to do a great job of having them covered. So now we are going to do the same exact thing we did here, but as opposed to doing it at the end of the box's life, we're going to do it at the beginning. So we're going to go to the first cut. We're good. Second cut, we are going to add the crop tool, which should still be there. If it's not, you can just go in and search for it. But instead of working from the top, we're gonna work from the top. So now we're gonna drag this to the right here so that it's at the top there. Go over a thing. Oh, rut-row. It doesn't cover everything it needs to cover. So now we're gonna pull it up a little bit, over, cut, pull it up a little bit, cut, and pretty much pull it down to 0 so there's no crop. So now we are going to change the opacity to 100 just to make sure that we did everything correctly and everything is not a frame off again, which, guys, it might be. Who knows? Who knows? All right. Now we're going to go here. Yeah, perfect. Now you will notice that that purple is a little bit off from the original purple. So what I went in and I did is I went into, so we're in the effects editing plane, right? We started in editing, we're in effects now. Now you can go into color, which this is gonna be where you can color grade your video, which on something like this, where it's mostly like graphics, you're not really gonna be color grading a ton. But if I select the purple box right here and I go into exposure, you can do the same exact thing. You could do an opacity, you could do in cropped, where you select and you scrub one way or the other way, or you can go in and individually, negative 0.1. So I think when I was doing this last time, I thought that negative 0.4 was kind of the sweet spot where it kind of blends in. It's not too dark, not too light. It's the Goldilocks of colors. You don't have to do this. It's not going to be the end of the world. When you're editing video, you become very nitpicky. Yeah, I can go back and watch the one that I published, and there are so many things that I would change now. But at a certain point, you just have to hit the send button. Now, you have to now go in, since you made that change to this big one, and individually change each of these here. Now, in retrospect, what would have been smart I would have gone in and adjusted the color before I cut all of these, because if you cut from the original that already has the color on it, you don't need to go in and individually color all of those because they're already going to have the effect on it. But since you went in, these are now separated from each other, so you have to go in and change them. But I do know the setting off the top of my head. All I did was do negative 0.4. So now I just have to go in and change each of those, because once you cut it, it's its own clip now. Just because it's all born from the same clip doesn't mean that it'll get those same settings. So now I'm going to change the opacity of this big clip because I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen with this text. So I'm going to hit play, see what the text does. And you can see here that I didn't. So by the way, guys, don't forget, I just extended just zoomed out of the timeline so I could see what's happening. So you can see here, first of all, my purple clip was not long enough, and you can see that this guy is all of a sudden gonna come. So I am going to drag my purple clip over here. And then we're gonna run into some problems, but no worries, you guys know exactly what to do. So I'm going to drag my purple clip to extend past this entire little party, okay? And then I'm going to use the arrow to go back. Oh, you can see my purple clip now. Go back to when this whole thing started. There we go. So now this guy's gonna come through and get rid of my purple clip. Now, here's the thing. Work smarter, not harder, right? So the purple clip is meant to get rid of the words. And the beauty of the opacity is we can see below that there are no words. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna see, ready to get into the thick of it? As soon as those words are gone, my purple clip is gone, and we can just let Spotify create the graphic for you. It's really work smarter, not harder, okay? And so you are gonna go through, it's the same exact thing. You're gonna take the green and you're gonna cover the top here, and you're gonna cover, and don't worry about getting it on the black part, because we at the very end, we take care of that black part. So this is just free space. If you need to use that to, if you bring a green thing over here, right? If you bring a green thing here to cover your top songs and it gets into the black like this, that's fine. We're gonna take care of it later. So don't worry about that. You are gonna go through. So you come up with a template like this where you watch and there's just no words. You come up with a place where you can add your own text and not worry about text from the original Wrapped. After that, after all of this is done and all of these, there's no text, you're going to want to hit File, Export Media. So now this is what it's going to be called in your computer. These settings are totally fine. If you click on this, it's going to show you where it's going in your computer, and it's going to show you what it's going to be saved as. So if you want it to save onto your desktop totally, that's fine. If you made a folder for it, like I did, then that's where you're gonna wanna put it. And then you're gonna wanna give it a title. And I'm not gonna save it, but then you're gonna wanna hit export. I am not gonna do that. I'm gonna show you guys the next step.